Hello my sweet friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be getting your help to choose my reads for the next week or so. I'm going to be going to my TBR card, picking out 2 books, putting a photo of those 2 books on Instagram, but covering them up and just using an emoji to give you a little bit of a clue, and then adding a poll, and whichever book gets the most votes, I will read. So technically you guys are choosing my reads, but you're blindly choosing them. Make sure you're following my Bookstagram if you want to be included in polls and things like this in the future if you aren't already, and let's just jump straight into it. It is time to get Instagram to choose my first book, and I was trying to decide like which 2 books I wanted you guys to pick from, and I thought, okay, let's pick out 2 romance books and see what you guys choose. Obviously you guys won't know which 2 books you are choosing between, but I'm so intrigued to see which one of these wins. So first book is going to be Saving Six, which is the 3rd book in the Boys of Tommen series, and the other book is going to be Wild Love by Elsie Silver, which is her new small town romance series. I'm not doing anything too fancy. I've literally just put them on the floor. I'm gonna take a photo. Oh, should I use the actual color that they are, or I don't want to like give it away exactly which books they are. Do you know what I mean? This is such a bad drawing. Now, which emojis do we pick? I want to do something that actually is related to the book but doesn't completely give it away. So for Saving Six, I feel like if I do a yellow flower, you guys are going to guess straight away what it is. On the top of the book at the front it says, "She is the only light in his darkness." So I think I'm going to do a light bulb. And then for Wild Love, there's a few pictures on the front. We have some mountains, we have a little lock, and we also have a record player. So I'm like, maybe a record could be fun, or a vinyl, whatever you call it. Oh, do they not have a vinyl? That's actually shocking. They don't have a vinyl. Do they have a CD? They do have a CD. Or I could do the lock, because there is a little lock at the front as well. Maybe I'll just do that. I'm so intrigued to see what you guys pick. Okay, let's add our little poll. I'll give you guys a clue and say, which romance book should I read? Okay. We have our first little story ready to go. I'm going to post this, and I guess we'll come back in an hour or something and we'll see what's winning. I don't know which one I want to win. I honestly think I'd be happy with either of these because I'm kind of in the mood for either of them. Like, I don't think I mind which one wins this poll. Hi friends, a little bit of a change of scenery. Liam and I have come to the coast for the weekend, but I wanted to give you a reading update because I'm up to chapter 14 of Wild Love. I did end up getting it on my Kindle, honestly just because I felt like reading it on my Kindle. If you don't know what this book is about, we are following Ford and Rosalie, dual POV. Ford is a billionaire and Rosalie was living in the city, but she's just moved back to the small town where Ford is living as well. She grew up there and Ford is her brother's best friend, but she's just moved back. She needs a job, and so Ford hires her. So that's kind of the dynamic we've got going on, and there's definitely like immediate attraction. As for how I'm feeling about it, I honestly kind of feel very like, not meh, like I'm enjoying it. It's a good time, but I'm not obsessed yet. I like Ford, I like Rosalie. We also have a character called Cora who is like a kid in this book, and I really like her and I really like the dynamic between all of them, but I don't know, I'm just not obsessed yet. I'm enjoying it, I'm having a good time, but it's not blowing me away. I will say Elsie Silver's writing is just so easy to fly through. Like, it is just so quick, which is really nice because you can just kind of, I don't know, you don't have to think, which I appreciate. But yeah, I don't know, it's good. I don't even have anything necessarily to complain about. It's just like, it's good. Hopefully by the next time I update you guys, I will be enjoying it a little bit more, but we'll see. Wild Love update. I am now 60% of the way through. It's not hitting. I'm so confused. I don't know what it is. I think I'm just like not super obsessed with either of our main characters. Like, I like them, but I'm just not obsessed, and I just don't care very much, and I don't know why, because I love Elsie Silver books and I do love her writing in this. It's so easy to read, but I don't know why, it's just not hitting for me. I feel like it's not really a book that I look forward to picking up. Like, I'm never like, oh my gosh, can't wait to sit down and read Wild Love. Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, like I'll read it because it's the book I'm reading, not because I'm looking forward to reading it, if that makes sense. And that just feels so sad to me. One thing that I am definitely missing from the Chestnut Springs series, which I don't want to compare them too much because obviously they are separate series, but one thing I kind of miss is that like family aspect. Like obviously in Chestnut Springs, most of our main characters are like brothers, and so they have family dinners and they all spend time with each other, and you get to know every member of the family so well. And obviously our characters in this book, like they have family, they have friends, and I'm sure as the series progresses we'll get to know the other characters a little bit better, and maybe it'll feel more of that like found family aspect. But right now that's just something I really miss about the Chestnut Springs series, because this just doesn't have that. I feel like it's the best when you go into a book with no expectations, but unfortunately I went into this book with high expectations, and so I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm still enjoying it. Like I'm still like, yeah, this is a good book, but it's definitely not a 5-star. I don't even know if it's a 4-star for me. It's like a 3.75 at this point. I don't know. It doesn't feel very emotional to me at all. And also, there is like, what is the plot of this book? It feels like it doesn't exist. Like there are things happening, like Ford is like building his business and like renovating a bit, like he's working, and Rosie's working and kind of like figuring out her life a little bit. And obviously Cora is there, and that like element of the book is happening, but it doesn't feel like there's a point or like something they're trying to do or something they're trying to figure out. They're all just kind of living their lives, and I don't know why, but it's just a little bit boring to me. I'm gonna continue reading and we'll see if my mind changes at all. I'm so sad. I thought I was gonna be obsessed with this. Finished our first book of the reading vlog. It was good, but it wasn't amazing. I liked it. Like, I enjoyed it. I really liked Cora and like that whole element of the story, like the single dad kind of element, I guess. And I also do love a billionaire romance. Like, it's just fun. I feel like having a character be a billionaire just allows there to be so many like very outlandish but really fun elements in the story. Like the acts of service and things like that can just be so wild, but in like a really fun way. So I always enjoy seeing what the author chooses to do with a billionaire main character, because the opportunities really are just like endless, I guess. So that's always really fun. But yeah, I don't know. I liked Ford, but I didn't love him. I liked Rosie, but I didn't love her. It was just a bit like, yeah, you know, it was good, but it wasn't really anything more than that to me. It just didn't stand out. So I think it's probably sitting at a 3.5 to 3.75. Like, again, enjoyed it. It was good. I would recommend it to other people, but I definitely don't think it's going to be one that I think about very often, and doesn't really compare to my favorites from the Chestnut Springs series. But that's okay. It was a fun time. It is time to start book 2 of this video, and since I did a romance poll for the first book, I thought we would do a fantasy poll for the second book. So I chose 2 fantasy books from my TBR for you guys to choose between. I chose A Tempest of Tea and The Crimson Moth. These are both books that I am so excited about, and so I put a poll up about 4 hours ago, and we are gonna go and check which one is winning. Oh my gosh. Currently the poll is sitting at 49% versus 51%, and the winner by literally 2% is The Crimson Moth. So I did a butterfly emoji for this one because moth, butterfly, same vibe. And I did a cup of tea for this one. I don't know if any of you guessed, props if you did, but it looks like we will be reading The Crimson Moth, which I'm super excited about. I think this is a bit of an urban fantasy from what I've gathered. I think I'm gonna start this, and once I've read a little bit, I'll come back and tell you kind of like the premise and what this book is about. Reading update, I am officially 100 pages in, 105 pages in to be exact, chapter 14. So I feel like I really know like what's happening and what this book is all about. So I thought I'd give you a bit of a premise explanation, I guess. I initially thought this was going to be more of like a modern fantasy, like urban fantasy kind of situation. I don't know why I thought that. I think because it says on the back that our main character is like a socialite. Yeah, a vapid young socialite. So I kind of just assumed it was more of like like a modern urban fantasy situation, but it's not. It is Regency, and when I found that out, I was so happy. I love a Regency romance, specifically a Regency fantasy, because then you get like ball scenes, and the romance is usually like the perfect kind of tension, at least for me, like the kind of tension that I personally love, where it's kind of like they touch hands and it's scandalous, you know, like it's all very like prim and proper, but in a really like fun way. So in this book we have Rune, who is a witch, but in this world that she's living in, being a witch is frowned upon. It's, I guess, like illegal, and witches are hunted, killed, exiled, all of that sort of stuff. So she's kind of like an undercover witch, and no one except for her very close friends know that she's a witch. So you have Rune's POV, and then you have Gideon's POV, and Gideon is a witch hunter, and so it's literally his entire career to get rid of witches. So as you can assume, it's an enemies to lovers situation, and it's like a real enemies to lovers situation, you know what I mean? Like both of our characters basically just want to get rid of the other, and it's just it's so much fun. I love it. Our main character Rune is trying to pretend to be very clueless, very naive, very shallow, and just a bit of a bimbo, I guess. Like she's just trying to be this like, oh, I'm just a socialite, I don't know anything, so that no one would ever suspect her of being the Crimson Moth. And the Crimson Moth is someone who tries to basically save witches so that they don't get killed, and she tries to kill witch hunters. So no one knows that she's the Crimson Moth, no one knows her true identity, and in our story, Gideon is trying to figure out who the Crimson Moth is, and he has a suspicion that it might be Rune, so he is trying to get close to her in order to figure out if she is a Crimson Moth and hopefully get rid of her. And Rune is trying to get close to Gideon because Gideon has just captured and imprisoned one of the witches that Rune is trying to save. So they both are trying to get close to each other, basically for their own benefit, but obviously pretending that they kind of like each other, kind of flirting. And I'm obsessed. I love the premise. I love the way it's all being set up. I love the Regency vibes. Rune also has two really close friends who play a pretty important role in the story, so I'm really liking the friendship element. I'm also wondering if there's one character who is supposed to be good but might end up being a little bit evil. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I am having so much fun with this. I'm loving it. I don't know if it's going to be 5 stars necessarily, but I think if it keeps going the way it is, it's going to be pretty highly rated because it's just so much fun. I just have nothing to complain about as of yet. My sweet friends, it is now the next morning. I'm just sitting drinking my coffee, and as you guys saw last night, I got up to page I think 300, and I'm still really enjoying this. I honestly just didn't want to put it down last night. Ended up staying up way too late reading, which has been a consistent theme in my life recently, and I really need to stop doing it because then I always wake up the next morning exhausted. It was just so good. I didn't want to put it down. And now we only have like 100 pages left to read today, I guess. I don't know if I have like too much more to say. I feel like it's just giving everything it needs to give, you know? Like it's got the Regency vibes, it's got like the secrets and the deceit, I guess, like the betrayal. I really like the side characters. Also a really random thing that I just really love when they do this in Regency romances is when they like really describe the outfits. I don't know why, but I just find Regency clothing and dresses and stuff just so beautiful, and I love imagining them. So I love it when they give us like proper descriptions of the outfits, and our main character Rune loves fashion, so she's always giving us good little descriptions, and so I'm loving that. Also the main guy, Gideon, his parents were, I don't know if they were like clothing designers or like exactly what the terminology was, but I don't know, there's a lot of fashion talk in this, which I just think is really fun, specifically because it is that like Regency vibe. I think the only thing that I wish we were getting more of in this book is that I feel like the pacing is almost like quite quick. Like it's just kind of like we're moving from one thing to the next, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, and obviously it keeps you interested, but I wish we had more like little moments moments where we just get those like very tiny bits of romance, because I think those are like my favorite parts about books with romance plots, is when you get those little moments with the characters, like something very small that just has you like giggling and kicking your feet. And this definitely has some of those. Like there was one part of the story where Gideon makes a dress for Rune, and I loved that. That was so fun. And when he was trying to get her measurements, there was like so much tension in that scene, and I loved it. But I just want more like sweet little moments. And there was another one where they kind of like got a bit vulnerable with each other and like were actually explaining kind of their backstories a little bit, which also explained why Gideon became a witch hunter and why he hates witches, which makes a lot of sense. Like I feel like I'm like, okay, I can see why he is a witch hunter. Like it really, really makes sense once you know his backstory. And I just love little scenes like that. So I don't know, I'm hoping we get more of that. But also we're obviously getting towards the end of the book, so I'm assuming something is going to go really wrong soon. But also this is the first book in a duology, so I'm assuming the ending will leave on a bit of a cliffhanger, so there might not even be a resolution. I don't really know. I'm excited to see what the ending's going to be like, but I'm loving this so far. Like it's so good. I honestly wish it was longer, because the fact that I only have 100 pages left, I'm kind of sad. Got myself ready for the day. Time to choose our last book for this video. I don't know what I feel like. Well, I mean, I'm not choosing, you guys are choosing, but you know what I mean, like choosing the two options. Need to pop, oh, there's no room for this. And this is a shelf where all of my tall paperbacks go. I wonder if I can squeeze it in. I don't think so. Maybe this one can just sit on top. Okay, well that's the best we're gonna get. Okay, so we've done romance, we've done fantasy. Do I do a different genre, or do I do another romance or fantasy? Because those are my two favorite genres. Maybe anatomy can be one of the choices. I think this is this technically YA horror? A gothic tale full of mystery and romance. Hazel Sinnott is a lady who wants to be a surgeon more than she wants to marry. Jack Curra is a resurrection man who's just trying to survive in a city where it's too easy to die. Okay, that can be one of our options. Snow Globe could be an interesting choice. Yeah, why not? This is also YA, I'm pretty sure. At least I found it in the YA section. I also don't know what genre this would be. Let's see what Goodreads says. Is it like mystery? I think it's maybe thriller. So both of these are kind of like mystery vibes, which I guess is good because it's something different. Young adult, dystopian, science fiction, fantasy, mystery, thriller. Well, that just basically listed everything under the sun. Let's just do these two and we'll see what people vote for. Alrighty, Instagram. Time to choose my destiny. I don't really know which one I want to win. Like, I don't know what I'm in the mood for. Oh my gosh, I always do this so messy. I would love to know if you guys saw these on my Instagram stories and what you voted for. Like, did your book that you voted for win? Did you guess what the books were when you saw me post the little emojis and stuff? Let me know. I always find these videos so fun. Surely we have to do a little snow emoji for Snow Globe. And then do we just do the heart for anatomy? Because there's literally a heart on the front, like the anatomical heart, not like a heart, you know. Last poll of the video. Done. I think I'm gonna go edit for a little bit and we will come back in a couple of hours and see which book is winning. It has been quite a few hours now, so let's check on the poll to see which book we're gonna read. Oh my gosh, okay. We have 38% versus 62%, and the winner with 62% is Anatomy. But that's a pretty decent win as well. I wonder if you guys knew what it was. No one in my DMs has been correct, so that's kind of fun. Okay, so this is set in Edinburgh 1817. London. I want to go to Edinburgh so badly. Does that mean they all have Scottish accents? In my head they will. The reason why I got this book is because a bunch of you guys recommended it to me, because I recently read the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kerry Maniscalco, and that one is set in, I think, the 1880s, in the Victorian era in London. I think it starts. I could be wrong with that. I think it's London. But the main character in that series is a girl who wants to conduct autopsies and like learn how to do that, study how to do that, but obviously girls in that era, it's not really accepted, I guess, for them to have a high level of education, so she kind of has to do it secretly, and a lot of people said that's similar to the premise of this one. So on the back it says, despite being thrown out of Dr. Beecham's lectures, Hazel is determined not to compromise on her ambitions. But without official lessons, Hazel will need more than just her books. She'll need corpses to study. Lucky that she's just made the acquaintance of someone who digs them up for a living. Unfortunately, Jack has his own problems. Dangerous men are skulking around the cemeteries. His friends are disappearing off the streets, and the city slums are plagued with a mysterious illness. Nobody seems to care until Hazel. So it says they have to work together to uncover the secrets buried beyond the unmarked graves in the very heart of Edinburgh society. Oh, and Maureen Johnson has a little review on the back, and it says, diabolically delightful, a love story, murder mystery, and horror novel bound up together in ghoulish stitches. I love Maureen Johnson. She's written the Truly Devious series, and I've read everything in that series so far. Absolutely love it. I'm hoping this isn't like too gory, because I've learned that I don't tend to enjoy detailed descriptions about dead human bodies or decaying human bodies. We'll see. We'll see. I love the cover of this also, because obviously it's like a girl sitting with her dress kind of like splayed around her, but also it looks like a heart. And I think this is a duology. I'm pretty sure. I definitely know it's a duology, but I don't think it's a trilogy unless the third book isn't out yet. I don't really know. I haven't looked into it. But the second book is also to die for. Beautiful cover. Let's get reading. Little reading update. I am up to page 73, and this book is about 330 pages long, so I guess that makes me roughly a quarter of the way through, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm not like obsessed, but I'm definitely having a fun time. We're following Hazel, who so badly wants to be a surgeon, but she lives in a world where it is just quite odd for women to want to study or basically be taken seriously in any sort of professional setting. Crazy stuff. And she is just basically doing everything she can to be taken seriously, even if that means that she has to marry someone of a very decent name to be able to be like tied to them, to be taken more seriously. Like she's really considering everything. She's sneaking into lectures so that she can learn. Like she is just doing anything in her power, and her mum is just basically like, you do know that you're gonna have to like get married soon. You're gonna have to figure this out because you have no inheritance. Like all of the things that her mum owns going to her brother. So her mum is like, if you want any sort of life, you know, you need to marry someone. So obviously it's just kind of this moral conflict of like, do I just like marry someone safe and easy and simple and have the rest of my life sorted out, or do I follow my passion and risk everything? Because also she was considering marrying this guy, and she thought that he respected her desire to be a surgeon, and she kind of discusses it with him again, and he's like, oh, I kind of thought that you'd be over this by now. Like, surely you don't think you can actually become a surgeon? And she's kind of like, wait, like I've been talking about this my whole life. And he's like, yeah, but you know that women just like won't do that. You know what I mean? Like she's just kind of realizing, wait a second, like if I get married, can I do this? Like, will my husband let me, basically, which is awful. But it's just, yeah, it's really interesting so far. I feel like we're not like fully in the trenches of the plot yet. Like it's still kind of being set up. We're still trying to understand the characters a bit. We don't know as much about Jack, who's the male main character in this book. I'm hoping we get to know more about him very soon, but so far so good. It's definitely got me intrigued. I never thought I would be as obsessed with like Regency era, Victorian era, like those sorts of books, but I really am. I don't know what it is about it, but the way they talk, the way they act, I just find it fun and really entertaining. I definitely need to read Veronica Speedwell because I know that's like another little historical kind of mystery. Obviously, I love Stalking Jack the Ripper, which is another historical mystery. The Infernal Devices, which is historical fantasy. And obviously in this vlog earlier, we read The Crimson Moth, which also has those vibes. Like and Half a Soul. I really, really love it. I feel like Katie's reading tends to have great recommendations for that kind of stuff. Like I feel like she reads a lot of them, so I often get recommendations from her. But yeah, I never thought I would be someone who loved a historical element, but I really, really do. So this is definitely passing the vibe check so far. Again, we're not like fully in the plot yet, so I don't really have anything to say about that yet, and I have nothing to say about the romance so far because there kind of is none so far. But the vibes, the setting, the setup, it's great. Good morning, besties. It's now the next morning, and here's where I got up to last night in anatomy, page 243. So I have a little under 100 pages left, and I'm still really, really enjoying this. This just makes me, I think this along with The Crimson Moth just makes me want to pick up like every Victorian era, Regency era book ever. Like I love it so much. I love that they get to live in like manors and castles. Also because they're Scottish, I'm imagining them saying everything in Scottish accents, and that just makes it 10 times more fun as well. We finally got some romance. Like I feel like this book, it's called Anatomy, a Love Story. So I assumed that the romance was going to be a lot more prominent, but we barely even had the two characters interact until like the halfway point of the book, which I'm not mad at because I love a slow burn. I was just surprised. My only qualm with that is that it feels like we went from them basically not interacting at all, like living their own lives, to having like romantic moments very quickly. And I was kind of like, wait a second, like where did this come from? I feel like they had this like romantic moment that just kind of came out of nowhere. I was like, I didn't even realize you guys liked each other to that point yet, you know? Like they seemed friendly, but it didn't seem flirty really, like a bit bantery maybe. But yeah, I didn't expect the romance to kind of just like come out of nowhere like how it did. So I do wish that it was a little bit more slow burn in the sense of from when they like actually start spending time together to when they actually start having feelings. Like I feel like that was a bit quick. I think that could have been slowed down a little bit. But apart from that, really liking the characters, really like how the story is like taking shape, I guess. Obviously, like I mentioned at the beginning, our main character really wants to be a surgeon, but she's not allowed because she's a woman, and she basically has wormed her way into figuring out a way to become a surgeon and like take the exam and stuff like that, kind of in a secondhand way, I guess, a bit of a sneaky way because she's technically not allowed to. But yeah, she was able to get herself kind of into the pathway to become a surgeon. The only thing is she needs bodies to be able to learn how to be a surgeon and like learn more about anatomy, learn more about the body. And so that's where our main character Jack has come in, because he is a resurrection man, which means he digs up dead bodies out of the cemetery and sells them. Like that's how he makes a living. So he is like very poor, and then our main character Hazel is quite well off. She's not like the most rich ever, but she lives in a beautiful huge house and comes from quite a well-off family. So yeah, Jack is kind of selling her bodies, and that is how they kind of get to know each other. Which, saying it out loud, I'm like, that sounds so awful, but I don't know, it makes sense in the book and it doesn't seem as creepy as what I'm saying. And it's not as gory as I thought it could be. Like there's definitely moments where they're explaining like cutting bodies open and like looking at organs and stuff, but it's very much more of like a doctor medical kind of way, not like a gory, gross kind of way. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, less than 100 pages to go. I'll probably finish this morning. And why do I want to go and get the second book straight away? I have no idea how this is going to end. I feel like there's gotta be some more things happening than what we know about so far. But maybe today I'll go and grab the second one because yeah, I'm just having a lot of fun with this. I just finished Anatomy and that was so good. I literally want to go out and get the second book right away because the ending was like conclusive but open. Like it wasn't like a huge cliffhanger, like oh my gosh I need the next book right this second. Like it was in the middle of a scene and like very dramatic. It ended like conclusively but in a way where I still want to know what's going to happen next, and obviously in a way where there's still a lot more to find out. And yeah, I just thought the ending was really, really good. I just had so much fun with this. Like this was just such a great book. I'm so glad I read it and I'm so glad you guys chose it. So obviously this whole video was you guys blindly choosing my TBR on Instagram. So we did 3 polls, we read 3 books. The first book that you guys chose for me to read was Wild Love by Elsie Silver, and I think this was my least favorite out of all the books that I read in this little video. It was still good. I think I'll give it like 3.5 stars. Like it was good, but it just wasn't incredible. It wasn't anything amazing to me. It didn't have me like kicking my feet or giggling. I liked our characters. I liked our storyline. I feel like the plot was like very lacking, and I think I would have enjoyed more of a prominent plot. But yeah, overall it was just like, yeah, it was fine, but I'm probably never going to think about it ever again. In saying that, I feel like so many people love this book. They love Ford, but for me it just was like, oh, it's okay. Then we read The Crimson Moth, which is YA fantasy, and I loved this. I loved the time that it was set in. I really liked our characters. I really liked just the plot in general. Like, I don't really have many complaints about this, I don't think. It didn't give me the 5-star feeling, but apart from that, like, it was fantastic. And then I also felt very similarly about Anatomy. Like, not necessarily a 5-star, didn't give me that, like, 5-star obsessed feeling, but had so much fun with it. This is YA mystery, I would say. And just, yeah, like, such a fun time. I think I can't choose what to rate these two. I think I enjoyed these the same amount. I think maybe like 4.25, like better than a 4-star, but not quite 4.5. But yeah, really enjoyed both of these and very excited to continue the series. This one isn't out yet, like the rest of the series, but I need to pick up the second book in this duology because I need to know what's gonna happen next. Overall, very successful. You guys chose some amazing books, and I hope you guys enjoyed just spending the last week or so with me as I read these books. But I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.